You are about to experience Jackson Snyder Presents. Direct from the Vero Essene Yahad, a Hebrew Nation radio original program. JSP is a variety show seeking out Jewish and Christian origins, religion, theology and history, and doing so in a fashion that is both educational and entertaining. Welcome to Jackson Snyder Presents.
In the Greek life of Adam and Eve, on their way to paradise to fetch the oil which flows from the tree for Adam, lying on his deathbed, Seth and his mother Eve are confronted by a wild beast that attacks Seth. Eve, realizing her culpability, weeps and says, "Woe is me! For when I come to the day of resurrection, all who have sinned will curse me," saying that Eve did not keep the commandment of Elohim. And she rebukes the beast and says, "Oh, you evil beast! Do you not fear to attack the image of Elohim? How was your mouth opened? How did your teeth grow strong? How did you not remember your subjection? For you were once subjected to the image of Elohim." But the beast blames Eve for the loss of human authority over the animals, because she ate the forbidden tree. Thus the animal's nature changed, thus enabling the beast to rebuke her. Seems like Eve always gets the short straw, even from Paul. Then Seth says to the beast, "Shut your mouth and be silent and keep away from the image of Elohim until the day of judgment." And the beast says to Seth,
See, I stand off from the image of God. See, I stand off, Seth, from the image of Elohim, and it flees to its dwelling place, leaving Seth wounded.
This tradition is usually interpreted as a realization of the curse of Elohim upon the serpent, as found in Genesis 3:14 and 15, according to which an enmity will exist between it and the woman, and between their offspring, or as an ideological story that recounts the moment at which the animals were released from their status of subjugation to humankind, conferred on Adam and Eve after their creation. Genesis 1:28. Its main concern is how to keep the wild animals from wreaking havoc upon the human race. According to this interpretation, it's generally agreed that the beast in the Greek life of Adam and Eve was not intended to represent Satan. Most scholars refute the Latin life of Adam and Eve and the Armenian recension's identification of the beast as a symbol of Satan, arguing that these are secondary versions and incompatible with the original concern of this episode, because they regard this tradition as a narrative based on biblical themes. They understand it as a Jewish tradition rooted in a biblical Jewish background. The author will here endeavor to establish that the battle between Seth and the beast can also be perceived as a struggle between Seth and Satan, and that the whole tradition should be viewed in a Jewish, Christian, Nazarene context. In order to reveal the tradition's full meaning, 3 questions must be addressed. 1. Who is the beast? 2. Why did the beast attack Seth, and why could only he control it? 3. Why did the beast have to wait in its dwelling place until the day of judgment? Interesting to note that the word beast, therion, is exactly the same here in the Greek of Adam and Eve as it is in Revelation 13. Therion, a wild man. The indeterminate beast, or therion, in the Greek lives of Adam and Eve, which is identified with the serpent in the Latin lives of Adam and Eve, is described as a wild and huge and evil beast with strong, bared teeth and capable of speech. It rebukes Eve and blames her for the loss of human authority. It is unafraid of attacking Seth and even dares to wound him. Only Seth can fight and defeat the beast. He banishes it to its dwelling place, where it would remain until the day of judgment. I'm sure that you're already hearing points of correspondence. with a certain other story, very popular yet today, from the biblical record. This description is generally based on the vision of the four beasts in Daniel 7 through 26, where the fourth beast is described as dreadful, terrifying, and exceedingly strong, with great teeth of iron, and a mouth from which pompous words pour forth. It makes war against the holy ones of the Most High, but is defeated and doomed to be judged on the day of judgment. This became the model on which the image of the Antichrist was based in Christianity, especially Jewish Christianity. Thus, in Revelation 13, the Therion, the beast that descended from the sea, is described as possessing power, a throne, authority, and a belief in its own invincibility. Who is like unto the beast, and who can war with him? As in Adam and Eve, so in Revelation, the beast has been given a mouth that utters haughty and blasphemous words. In both sources, the beasts open their mouths and blaspheme Elohim, or the image of Elohim. Both can make war on the saints and almost overcome them, and both are destined to be judged on the day of judgment. The early Jewish Christian tradition indeed identifies the beast from the sea in Revelation 13 with the Antichrist. Note, the Revelation doesn't do that, but the tradition does. So we don't find it any place in Revelation, the word Antichrist. That comes from the Johannine epistles. But the two have been mixed up and confused, especially because of the follies of the dispensational ideas of prophecy. The Latin Adam and Eve and the Armenian version offer parallel traditions of the struggle between Seth and the beast. These traditions are identical in almost every detail to the story in the Greek Adam and Eve, differing only in how Seth addresses the beast. In the Latin 39:2, Seth calls the beast cursed enemy of truth, chaotic destroyer, maledicte, inimique, veritatis, confusio, perditionis, designations that usually represent Satan. And the Armenian version goes farther by mentioning the very name of Satan. Thus Seth rebukes the beast, "Close your mouth, O Satan," in 38:3. Although there is agreement that the traditions preserved in both the Armenian and Latin versions are secondary to the Greek, this does not automatically invalidate their interpretations. According to Johannes Trump, the traditions about Adam and Eve were primarily transmitted orally and consisted of a series of brief tales that might have had their original context in everyday discourse, and served either as exempla of moral truths or as explanations for the facts of life. At some point, these traditions were set down in writing so as to create the life of Adam and Eve. It is clear that this earliest written form did not contain all the oral traditions known to its compiler. The author knew more stories than he used for his document, and he deliberately chose to restrict himself to his selection. Thus, he decided to refer to some stories only in passing, as, for instance, the story of the devil being cast out of paradise, because he assumed that the readers would know them as part of their common cultural heritage, that they would already know them. Why repeat them? This author or storyteller not only chose different forms of the oral tradition, but he could clarify and explicate the ambiguities and allusions in the Greek version. There is, therefore, a reasonable possibility that the other versions of the life of Adam and Eve, albeit their later written forms, might preserve ancient oral traditions selected by other authors who were thoroughly cognizant with all the various stories about Adam and Eve because they found them more suitable for the situation of their communities In summary, the fact that this beast is identified clearly by the Latin and Armenian versions of Adam and Eve as Satan should be taken into account in our evaluation of the meaning of this tradition. And in what follows, the author will attempt to prove that the identification of the beast as Satan in the Greek Adam and Eve is evident not only from its description in this version itself, and not only from its comparison with the parallel versions, as I have shown above, but can be understood from the prominent role played in this tradition by the idea of Seth as an image of Elohim, and from his eschatological aspect. As we can remember from our studies in Enoch, Seth played a very, very important part. Talking about especially in the animal apocalypse, which I believe is chapter 86, because it is through Seth's bloodline that some of us receive the genes necessary to be a part of the predestination of the people of Elohim. We have been faithful since the very beginning of our lives. We seem to almost have a genetic predisposition, or maybe we do, to follow Elohim. Whether our family does, our neighbors do, or not. Whereas others are off the track. They must repent. Some few of us, through Seth's bloodline, are on the track from the very first and always stay on the track throughout their entire lives. There is no telling where that gene, set of genes, or that DNA will pop up. But that is an entirely different teaching. Do a search in Jackson Snyder Presents for Adamic race if you're interested in the few people that are predestinated to being good little boys and girls. So why did the beast attack Seth, and why could only he control it? This tradition, with its comparatively small body of literature, stresses 4 times that Seth is the image of Elohim, and expresses wonder as to how he, as an image of Elohim, could even be attacked by a beast. The author not only expresses this wonder through Eve and in Seth's reproach of the beast, but also stresses it by making the beast itself admit publicly and clearly that Seth is the image of Elohim. 12:2. Well, then the beast said to Seth, "See, I stand off, Seth, from the image of Elohim." Now, the idea that Seth possessed the image of Elohim is based on Genesis 5:3. Seth is the son of Adam, and was born, quote, in his likeness, in his own image. And since Adam was created in the likeness of Elohim, Seth is also an image of Elohim. Hallelujah. The fact that Adam was the symbol of the image of Elohim is very important in Adam and Eve. According to this composition, Adam was created by Elohim's own hand, literally formed, not made, not created, but formed. The word is eplasticine. We get the word plastic from that. Very pliable, able to be formed. We might say Adam was created of clay rather than dust. Because he was made in the image of Elohim, he was pardoned by Elohim through the mediation of the angels and was exalted. 33:5, 35:2, 37:2. This is why he received the promise. The promise of resurrection, 28:4. And the oil from the tree of life, quote, at the end of times, chapter 13. That's exciting. According to this tradition, the fact that Adam was created in the image of Elohim is the very reason for his struggle with Satan in the Garden of Eden, which eventually led to the sin itself and to Adam and Eve's expulsion. Adam loses. Shem wins. The most complete tradition describing Adam's enmity with Satan is found in the story of the fall of Satan that is passed down to us in 3 versions of Adam and Eve, the Latin, the Armenian, and the Georgian, chapters 12 through 17. At the very heart of the narrative is Satan's refusal to worship Adam, the image of Elohim. According to the narrative, Satan was expelled from the sky and deprived of the glory he once possessed because he refused to obey MacLeod's command that the angels should prostrate themselves before Adam, who had been created in the image of Elohim. And Satan responded,
"Why do you compel me? I will not worship one inferior and subsequent to me. I am prior to him in creation. Before he was made, I was already made. You ought to worship me."
It was this refusal to worship the image of Elohim that resulted in the expulsion of Satan and his angels from sky to land. According to this tradition, this was the source of their enmity and of Satan's envy of Adam, and the reason he deceitfully assailed Eve.
"And we were pained to see you in such bliss of delights. So with deceit I assailed your wife, and through her caused you to be expelled from the joys of your bliss, as I have been expelled from my glory."
That was from the Latin Adam and Eve. Although this story has no direct counterpart in the Greek, it appears to have been familiar to the author of this composition, as the story of the fall of Satan is alluded to twice. In the first instance, the evil one, trying to seduce the serpent, says,
"Rise and come, and let us cause him to be cast out of paradise through his wife, just as we were cast out through him."
Greek version 16:3. The second allusion is Elohim's promise to Adam to establish him in his dominion above the throne of his seducer, who will be cast down to earth.
"I will establish you in your dominion on the throne of your seducer, but that one should be cast into this place, so that you might sit above him. Then he himself and those who listen to him shall be condemned, and they shall greatly mourn and weep when they see you sitting on his glorious throne."
39, 1-3. From these two allusions it's clear, as Marinus de Jong concluded, that the Greek author seems to know this story in some oral or written form, and to suppose that his readers will know it too. But according to this tradition, the struggle between Adam and Satan did not end with Adam's victory and Satan's expulsion from the Garden of Eden. Satan did not concede defeat. On the contrary, he sought to deceive man and to lead Adam and his wife astray, even on earth. The struggle between Adam, the image of Elohim, and Satan in the Garden of Eden continues, therefore, in the struggle between Seth, the image of Elohim, and the beast outside the garden, on the way leading to it. The theme of Satan trying to bar the way that leads to paradise and needing to be conquered in order to reopen it is a known Jewish, Christian, Nazarene tradition. According to Daniel Hu, this idea underlies exorcisms that are combined in the baptismal rites. Thus, Kirill of Jerusalem notes that these exorcisms are an expression of the conflict that is being waged between Christos and Satanos around the faithful soul. And I quote, "Great is the baptism that lies before you, a chariot to heaven, the delight of paradise, a welcome into the kingdom, the gift of adoption. But there is a serpent by the wayside watching those who pass by. Beware lest he bite thee with unbelief. He sees so many receiving salvation, and he is seeking whom he may devour. Thou art coming in unto the Father of Spirit, but thou art going past of that serpent. How then mayest thou pass him?" have thy feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, and even if he bite, he may not hurt thee. Have faith indwelling, a steadfast hope, a strong sandal that thou mayest pass the enemy, and enter the presence of thy sovereign. What a tremendous quote that is. Kirill of Jerusalem, that's C-Y-R-I-L, pronounced Kirill, pro-catechesis is the name of the document. This theme appears also in connection with martyrdom. Thus, during an ecstasy, Perpetua saw, I quote, on a ladder that mounted to heaven, a dragon lying of an extraordinary size, who sets ambushes for those who climb the ladder. The demon is presented as also trying to bar the way to heaven to the souls of the dead. Saint Anthony sees in a vision an enormous being reaching to heaven, who, stretching out his hands, prevents the souls from rising up. He understood that this was the enemy. This theme might also underlie Yeshua's symbolic struggle with Yehuda Ishkarot. In referring to the scene between Yehuda Ishkarot and Yeshua, which according to John 18:1 and 2 occurred in the garden, the scholar Mans interprets the garden as the Garden of Eden. Did you ever think of that? And he explains the entire scene as a struggle between Yehuda, the tool of Satan, and Yeshua. Yehuda and qui est entre Satan ne peut continuer son œuvre de mort. Yehuda avait voulu arrêter et écraser Jésus. En réalité, les rôles sont inverses. C'est Yehuda qui est écrasé devant le jardin et exécuté l'ordre de mort dont Yahvé avait menacé la serpente. Après la manifestation de la gloire de Jésus, le prince de ce monde est jeté dehors. It's been a long time on that French. And with that, I must take a break. My jawbone, with its abscessed tooth, is saying, you must go no farther with this until you find relief. I rebuke you, Satan, in the name of Seth, in the name of Yeshua, in the name of Yahweh. Give me back my tooth. To be continued. You have been listening to Jackson Snyder Presents on Hebrew Nation Radio.
With desire, I have desired to eat this Passover with you. With desire, I have desired to eat this Passover with you. With desire, I have desired to eat this Passover with you. Before I suffer, before I suffer. This is my body given for you. Take you and eat it. This is my blood shed for you. Take you and drink it. Be fulfilled. I will not eat this meal with you again till it be fulfilled. I will not eat this meal with you again till it be fulfilled. I will not eat this meal with you again until it comes the kingdom. It comes the kingdom. This is my body given for you. Take you and eat it. This is my blood shed for you. Take you and drink it till it comes. I will not drink this fruit of wine with you again till it comes. I will not drink this fruit of wine with you again till it comes. I will not drink this fruit of wine with you again, but in the kingdom, but in the kingdom. This is my body given for you. take you and eat it. This is my blood shed for you. Take you and drink it. But behold, the hand of him that does betray me is here. But behold, the hand of him that does betray me, it is here. But behold, the hand of him that does betray me, it is here. On this table here, on this table here. This is my body given for you. Eat and remember, this is my blood shed for you. Drink and remember, as was planned, the Son of Man proceeds, but woe unto that man, as was planned. The Son of Man proceeds, but woe unto that man, as was planned. The Son of Man proceeds, but woe unto that man who betrays me, who betrays. This is my body given for you. Eat and remember, this is my blood shed for you. Drink and remember, with desire, I have desired to eat this Passover with you. With desire, I have desired to eat this Passover with you. With desire, I have desired to eat this Passover with you. Before I suffer, before I suffer. This is my body given for you. Eat and remember, this is my blood shed for you. Drink and remember.
Elohim.